Right.
So let's just start with one of the main things here. It's like romantic, and like platonic relationships, right? So how does it ruin your ability to build meaningful friendships and like relationships in that domain?
Oh, another great question. You're so right, and it has an impact in that domain in so many ways. First and foremost, it's because if you're always adapting and trying to like make the other person happy, whether that's romantic or friends, nobody actually really knows the real you, right? You've sort of become this chameleon in a way, always sort of adapting and trying to like make them happy, that in ways then you're attracting people, even romantically or as friends, people start loving what you do, not who you are, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
they like that they like that you're making them happy, they like that, but that's not necessarily what you want and who you are and what your values are and what you like doing. And so in a way they sort of might fall in love or become friends with like not the real you, right? And so over time that can really have, obviously it's an impact on them because they don't really know the real you, but it has a real impact on you because we then start like resenting, right? Our friend, our partner, our spouse, because if we feel that they're not reading our mind, or right, or they're not sort of magically prioritizing what we want, even though they don't really know what we want because we've never really shared that with them. And so it
Yeah.
can lead to a lot of frustration and a lot of sense of like that of even in you're in a relationship that you're lonely because you're
Yeah.
actually not in a relationship with them, you're in a relationship with making them happy.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, because obviously being lonely really comes down to not being able to connect with people on like a real internal level, right? So,
Right.
if you have like, 200 people around you, you could still be like lonely if you don't connect with people on that intrinsic level, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Now, one thing you mentioned is that, people pleasers, like, they don't really know how to tell people what they truly want, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like, if you've been people pleasing for a long time, do people pleasers actually know what they really want on a fundamental level, or are they a bit confused on that level as
That's
well?
such a good question, Shaq. And really again, the research would show that in some ways, I think that we start confusing ourselves, right?
Yeah.
You're exactly right, because we put so much energy into trying to read your mind and trying to figure out and make you happy. I don't even give myself time and space to take the pause to sort of do the internal reflection of like, what do I even really want to
Yeah.
do, right? And you're exactly right. Then we become sort of confused in thinking that what I want is that positive reinforcement of like making you happy. Yes, I like that. I like that. But that doesn't mean that's the behavior that I want. That's the action I want to do. And so you're right. I think so many times we sort of get wrapped up in this, it's a reinforcing cycle of like, I'm making you happy. I want the positive reinforcement,
Yeah.
but I don't want to keep doing the thing. So I don't even know, right? You're exactly right. Like I'm then out
Yeah.
of touch with what is it that I even want because I'm so wrapped up in that external you, the other.
Yeah. Yeah, got it. Okay, yeah. So when it comes down to, like romantic relationships, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like we always talk about like, oh, we have to be able to really tell people what we want on that front. Now, like,
Mm-hmm.
what does that really mean though? Like, if someone is a people pleaser, like what should they be trying to figure out about themselves in order to really connect with people on that level and not feel like, oh man, like I'm not able to really connect with people. I can't express
Right.
myself. Like, what are the various parts about themselves that they need to be honest with and really figure out and then be able to communicate because like, you can't really tell people what you want again if
Right.
you don't know, right? So like what should you start
Exactly.
with? Yeah.
I know. I think so much of it starts with just sort of getting in touch at a fundamental level. And what we talk about in sort of my book that we just wrote on Ditch the Ditty and all of the stuff is what we
Yeah.
call essentials, which is really like,
Mm.
what are those things that are core to us that gets into our values? Like, what is it at the end of the day? What are the values that I really, what are the characteristics? What are the experiences that I actually like, turns out I don't really like going hiking with you every weekend because, because
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
really like bugs or whatever it is, right? But I think it all starts, Shaq, at a very core level of sort of getting in touch with our personal values. Like, what is it at the end of the day of sort of like the characteristics of that are important to me, the values that are important to me, and then that starts translating into getting clarity around what are the kinds of activities that I actually like doing, right? Who are the kinds of people that I actually like being with, right? What are the kinds of experiences that I want to have? It gets into our career, even, right? So as we
yeah.
think about what are the things that actually fulfill me, and like back to you were saying that intrinsically, it's not that I'm looking for external rewards or validation, but intrinsically, if like nobody else even knew that I was doing this, I would still enjoy doing it. And
Yeah.
so I've seen that even in myself of like, agreeing to go to a restaurant of something that like I just can't, I do not like it or
You don't want to
something,
go.
right? I
Yeah,
don't want to go because I
yeah.
went, and it's like at the end, it's like I don't, or again, or agreeing to be like, I don't really want to go for a 5 mile hike because to me that's like misery. I'd like rather curl up and read a book for the day or
Yeah,
whatever,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And so,
yeah.
but again, so much of that starts with what are our core values, and then that starts translating into getting to know what are the actual experiences and things that make me happy, even if nobody knew that I was doing them.
Yeah, got it. Okay, so it seems like the main things here, like it really comes down to your values. What
Yep.
do you want to experience? Like, like on that level, like, like what kind of experiences do you want? And then finally, what are you actually interested in?
Yeah.
Right?